Good afternoon, everyone. We're here for a quite impulsive and a slightly different STRAAT talks than you know from us from before. We're going to do a STRAAT talks today in the middle of the afternoon together with my dear friend Charlie, also known as Pure Evil. And the crazy thing is I've just seen Charlie a couple of days ago. Just give me some time to introduce you, Charlie. I've just seen Charlie a couple of days ago with the opening of his show in the gallery. There you go. It's called Souls Made of Flames. And we basically just opened the show Saturday the 18th. And the same day we had the press conference in the Netherlands announcing that we had to go into lockdown. So by doing the STRAAT talks, I'm giving some attention to Charlie and the show here in the gallery, and let you all know the works that we have here on show, and hopefully soon again for the public. Let's go live to Martijn. Hey, there you have him.
How's it going?
Charlie. I didn't hear what you were saying.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, now we can.
Wicked, cool. Yeah, man. How's it all going?
I'm doing well, Charlie. I just told everybody that we've seen each other just a couple of days ago. So, yeah, people know that, hey!
It's little homie here.
There's the big small guy.
Yeah.
Did he miss you?
How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, so I just told everybody it's going to be a slightly different STRAAT talks than we normally do.
Yeah.
Normally, I do STRAAT talks in an abandoned museum. Well, that's the same, but in the middle of the museum, in front of the work that the artist made for the collection. I'm going to show the work in a bit, Charlie. But first, I thought it would be good to just catch up and share the audience a bit of information regarding your show that you just opened with us here in the STRAAT Museum.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. How have you been doing?
Oh, it's good. It feels kind of funny to have been in Amsterdam and now I'm kind of back after.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously we were both in Miami doing our thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that was, that was full on. And then Amsterdam was full on. That was lots of work. And then, backup's just arrived. Hold on.
Hiya.
Take the child away from here. So, but it was kind of perfect. I mean, obviously Amsterdam went into lockdown and after 3 hours, the show was kind of locked. But we knew that was going to happen. We knew that was a potential.
Right.
Yeah, but it is what it is. And that's the kind of, you can't just not have culture and you can't just sit at home and do nothing. You got to just keep pushing a little bit. So
that's what we did.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, for me, just walking into, the whole main space of the museum was amazing and kind of terrifying because I had to then come up with a pretty decent piece of artwork that's going to be part of the the museum as well. So I knew that I had the pressure was on really. So I think the second day of painting I was pretty I knew that was a day where I could either sort of rise to completely you always have that fear, imposter, kind of what is it, what's the phrase, imposter thing, where you think, I'm just like, when you see some of the guys, like, especially for me, I think South American artists, the way that they use color, because they have like the light that they have, I'm thinking especially about, Mexico and a lot of my friends in Brazil, they have so much light and the colors that are mixing up together is so vibrant. So yeah, pressure was on. I think I did okay.
You did, for sure. Yeah, no, it's the message that we want to give, like the artists that come in right now. that there is a lot of quality in the museum by the artists that already painted there in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it was good that you also felt the pressure
Yeah, it's
and
good.
you
Surprising.
handled the pressure well.
Yeah. Yeah,
You did.
absolutely. But what was
Yeah.
nice though was working in the space, and then people were visiting and coming through the space and kind of commenting on the collection and also on what I was doing. I
Yeah.
had one lady who was. It was interesting how sometimes people have that perspective of, oh, I don't really like the tags outside, but I like the
Yeah.
art canvases inside. And I didn't really say anything to her. I thought, well, okay, she's got perspective, and that's a lot of people kind of feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. But I think by seeing the full collection, you kind of get a broader understanding, you know,
Right.
of the movement. I mean, I think Ben Ein and I, when I moved back from California, it was quite daunting for me because I was broke and I wanted to
Yeah.
get sort of the whole street art thing, and I was learning from pictures on walls, going into their offices. Obviously, they are, Banksy's kind of whole operations, and
Mm-hmm.
having someone like Ein, sort of welcome me in and kind of start to teach me. I already knew about screen printing, but I didn't know much about edition prints. I didn't know that much about, sort of becoming an artist, although my father was
Right.
an artist, but because my
Yeah.
father was an artist, I kind of avoided being an artist because I knew how much work it was.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quite,
Obviously, I checked your Wikipedia that
yeah,
you have, and I read that your father was also a painter or an artist
yeah,
back in the days.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
a question that I normally ask when I do the statues is, how did it start for you? Where did it start?
In terms of being inspired by street art, it was San Francisco. I moved out there,
Right.
fashion college, to work for
Okay.
a brand, doing t-shirts and graphics and all that kind of stuff. But seeing pieces by Twist and
Yeah.
seeing by Reminisce in the streets of San Francisco, seeing characters in graffiti art really was the thing that opened my eyes to it. And then down on Market Street there was a place called Psycho City, which was like a car park. And
Okay.
the car park was full of sort of top notch graffiti from West Coast people.
Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes to a lot, and some of it was just seeing it as I walked or went past on the bus as I was going down to work, and particularly seeing Barry McGee Twist's pieces and the placement of them in the street, and looking up at a reach, looking up at the top of a side of a building. There was
Right.
Market Street, which was like one of those kind of ladders that goes zigzagging up the building,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sort of corner, there was one of these faces kind of screwing into the ground. There were the
Right.
sort of faces of, sad commuters who were kind of being, sort of oppressed by society that he was painting at the time.
So
And,
when was this?
oh God,
Just for
91, 92, that kind of time. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
The first couple of pieces of graffiti I did were just writing words on. I wrote on a gun shop downtown in San Francisco. I wrote murderers on the outside and ran away because they someone walking there, buy a bunch of bullets and a gun, and just walk back into his office and start like downtown San Francisco. In your lunch hour, you could have gone in and bought a gun and some ammunition, and that's what he did. He went back and shot a bunch of people at work. So having that,
Right.
was something that I wanted to make a comment about, and I really
Yeah.
believe if you can say anything, then why not say something?
Yeah.
Any piece of illegal graffiti is a political act. Even if you're drawing a kitten, or whatever illegally, it's still political. But I think if you can make a statement about war, or you can make a statement about
Mm.
society, or you can make a statement about climate change or anything that's going on, then you kind of you have a duty to really address that.
Right.
And you've got
So
the
how did it feel to write murderers on
pretty
the
terrifying.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
And
it was.
afterwards?
But I think sometimes you have to sort of push yourself, and you have to do something. You really feel strongly about it.
Yeah.
Um, we went to Mongolia and we were doing some artwork there. It was me and Ben Frost and another
Right.
artist. And Ben came back from a bar one night and he's like, oh my God, I went to this Nazi bar in Mongolia. And in Ulaanbaatar, there are these sort of ultra nationalist guys who
Okay.
like to dress up in like SS gear and like do the sort of Hitler salute and all that kind of stuff, which is
No
really,
way.
so I made it a mission to go and find that place and draw something rude on the outside and then run away. So, you know, I think that one of the greatest things about graffiti is doing stuff and then running away from it before you get caught. You know.
Right. Okay. But how's the feeling afterwards, after you did it?
Yeah,
Fulfillment or?
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, having those narrow scrapes. You know, I've been stopped a few times by the police, but I've always managed to talk myself out of it because my whole thing is my stuff's pretty naive when I'm doing, you know, sort of tagging and, you know, sort of stuff outside. So when they see it, they're like, oh, this must be the first time he's ever done it. We'll give him a break. So you act like someone who's just found a spray can and was like spray painting something.
That's your tactic?
That's my technique. Yeah, that's how I do it. You know, you act like it's the first time you do it, and then they look at your work and they're like, yeah, I could see that. Look, if we catch you again, you know, you're going to jail, but just go home, you know, and sort of stop being so silly. So I did that.
Well, that's impressive if you're already doing it for 30 years to give that
Yeah,
impression to cops,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
right?
let's face it, though, you know, I feel like there is a sort of even people like the police have a sort of they have a curatorial role where they look at something and they go, oh, actually, this is the stuff that we like, so we're not going to bust
Yeah.
you. No, we've kind of had
Right.
it before. Whereas if they see certain types of, you know, sort of graffiti letters, they're obviously it's a weird one how they kind of differentiate. I
Right.
remember painting with Chore Boogie and
Yeah.
Volk in San
Yeah.
Francisco. And they were doing a huge wall just off Market Street, and the actual police were helping them to actually paint and prepare the walls.
That's
So
cool.
San Francisco actually has like a graffiti division that's, you know,
Okay.
pro and anti, you know. And I said to them, wow, I've never ever imagined, go away, that I would never imagine the police would, you know, be helping artists to do this. And the police
Right.
said, well, we do things slightly differently in this, you know, in San Francisco. So respects to San Francisco.
Oh, can't.
Come on, pop in.
No,
Come
he's
on
not
in.
allowed to go online, is he?
Oh, hi.
I
So yeah, it's a funny one. It's a funny one how, you know, sort of in different eyes, some people, you know, see graffiti and street art differently. But what's
hmm
amazing is, like we were saying about the museum, going back
Yeah.
into the museum, you've got these older couples who are kind of discovering street art, or they have discovered street art. I think in a way it's like skateboarding, where they call it the skater's gaze. It's the way that people who skateboard look at the
hmm
city, they look at banks to walls, and they look at curves, and they look at, you know, sort of things that they can use to skateboard. And
Right.
once you start looking at street art, it becomes a sort of a virus. You start to notice it more, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I think we were talking about this, or I was talking about it with Highlands as well, that the people who come in go, oh yeah, I started to notice it. And maybe
Yeah.
during lockdown, they've had more time to take walks. They started noticing it, you know, and
Yeah.
started to really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's also like not one of the goals, but one of the inspirations we hope to share with people, that after a visit to the museum, they start noticing it more in the streets. Yeah. Wherever they come, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I've experienced it with my own family and with my friends. I just started bombing them with information about street art and graffiti, and now everybody, or at least I think they are, slightly more fan of street art and graffiti than before.
yeah. That's why I kind of
So
the term urban art. I think it's a way to
right,
tried to sort of gentrify, you know, the movement and sort of make it something that's acceptable for, you know, collectors and for auctions and, you know, for galleries. You know, I like to
Right.
see, you know, street art. But then there is that discussion. If you think about a rock on the moon, a moon rock, it's highly significant because it's a rock on the moon. But then if you take that rock off the moon, it's just a rock on a shelf somewhere, you know.
Right.
So the way you're taking, the discussion is, if you take street art off the streets and bring it indoors, is it street art anymore, or does it just become art? Because, you know, what I know from looking at Barry McGee's work is about the placement as well. It's about where it ends up in the streets. You know, you could be driving past the spot and find it and go, oh, you know what, I'm going to come back here tomorrow and see if I can access that. So it's all about placement as well, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just going back to a bit about yourself, and not street art or urban art in general.
Oh yeah.
Can you explain
Totally.
can you explain where? Yeah, we'll get to that later. I see somebody's asking about NFTs. We'll talk about that in a while as well.
Yeah, sure.
Can you explain the name Pure Evil? I read it on your website. I didn't even know it was the origin of the name. But
yeah, I shot a rabbit when I was a little kid. I had a fascination with guns. I think sort of growing up at a time when there were lots of comics and, you know, sort of magazines about war. I was fascinated about World War II. So I was always interested in guns, and I got my hands on a shotgun. You know, obviously I was 10 years old. My cousins lent me a shotgun and said, go out and play. So I shot a rabbit, killed it, and I felt terrible. And so it's always haunted me. And I've always thought about, you know, this evil deed that I did. And then one day I was drawing in my sketchbook, and I did do this like really badly drawn rabbit. You know, it's like a three-legged, two-eared thing like that. It was pretty fast. And then just wrote Pure Evil next to it. So at that time, I wanted a character, you know, looking at Keith Haring, you know, he has like a sort of a stable of characters that he uses. So I wanted something that was, you know, quite similar, but not the same. So, you know, thinking about the little kind of crying baby that he did, I did this sort of vampire rabbit character, and I started it in the streets, and people seemed to like it. I was spray painting it once, and some, you know, like a guy in a suit was like, oh, I like that. I like seeing it on my way to work in the city, because Shoreditch is kind of on the edge of the city. So the thought that you'd kind of broken through into people's consciousness and it had become a sort of mind worm was interesting. So I just kept tagging it, and now it's something that I can execute really fast in a few seconds. So if I'm in Mexico, or if I'm in, you know, Moscow or wherever, I can just kind of drop a few and then keep walking. It's fun. And
so ironically, your first piece you did, like you wrote like murderers.
Yeah.
But you're a murderer yourself.
I know, exactly. Yeah. About that.
Yeah.
So now I'm vegetarian, so now I'm like, you know, pacifist for the most part, you know, and so yeah, it's, I kind of, and I think I still feel like the soul or the ghost of that rabbit is coming back to haunt me, you know, for the terrible deed. It's kind of about retribution.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're paying off already by being a vegetarian, but it's not the end of it.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what about first the influence of pop art? Because obviously that's coming back in all your work. What drew you to pop art in the beginning?
My dad had a massive collection of pop art books in his library.
Okay.
And so, you know, Rosenkist and Rauschenberg and obviously Warhol, they were sort of big influences. So, you know, he had a big collection of a lot of paintings and a lot of books. So I was drawn to abstract expressionism and then also to pop art. For me, pop art was, they were my comics. You know, when I was growing up, I found them really exciting, and the images. And also with pop art, sometimes you see like a Frank Stella image, or you see, you know, like a Wesselman. They're very simple, you know, so
Yeah.
they kind of open up the door because you think, well, I could actually recreate that. I could make something like that.
Right.
And what was funny was getting an email from a copy village in China saying, oh, we can make any copies of any artist that you want. And they sent me these little JPEGs, like 3 JPEGs of every single artist in the history of art. You know, they
Right.
basically options that I had that I could get them to paint for me. And the 3 Warhols
Okay.
were a Jackie Kennedy, a Liz Taylor, and an electric chair. Now, the electric chair was a little bit too complicated for that little 64 by 64 pixel, but
Okay.
the Jackies and the Liz's looked amazing. So through my background of being a t-shirt designer, I've always favored things that have a strong symbolism. And so I wanted to, you know, start working as a copy village in a way. So I did
Okay.
a Liz Taylor, and then she died, and then everybody was kind of nostalgic for her. I mean,
Okay.
I kind
Yeah.
of, I've done this a few times. I had like a friend of mine say, please don't ever do a portrait of me because, you know, I'm not feeling that healthy at the moment and I don't want you to like, you know, inadvertently kill me. But it's
Yeah.
happened with like Liz Taylor. It happened recently with, was it Robbie Shakespeare, I think, Sly and Robbie. And it also happened with David Bowie. I did like a David Bowie
Ah,
a couple
really?
of days before he passed away. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's a difficult one. It really is.
Ah,
But I think pop art and street art, there's a lot of similarities, and also there's a lot of sampling that goes on. You know, street artists love to sample from pop art because of the strong, you know, iconography, and also, you know, how it was such a popular thing. But it was funny because I found a bunch of Life magazines from the 60s in a
right.
dustbin. And one of the articles was in 1963, and it was talking about this new weird art and these collectors who were starting to buy it. And it was kind of ridiculing them for having, like, you know, these strange sculptures of like washing machines and, you know, all this sort of assemblage
That's
kind
cool.
of stuff that pop artists used to do. But it's
Yeah.
interesting to see how since then, you know, it's been an accepted art movement. And let's look at street art. You know, 15 years ago, me and Ayn were sitting in a pub talking about the potential of street art to become an art movement. And, you know, here we are today. It's definitely, you know, it's reached that point. You go into the Pompidou Centre and there's
Yeah.
a realist section in the bookshop and there's a street art section in the bookshop. You know,
Yeah.
it's that's how you know when it's in the art bookshops or when
Yeah. It
they're
is. Well,
museums, then it's rather than it going into museums, we've kind of created our own museums because I think sometimes the art world can be a very snobby place, and you know, I've applied for like Frieze Art Fair a few times. They just don't want to know. They don't want scruffy street artists showing. That's their thing. Contemporary art is their thing, and they don't want, you know, I guess when we start, you know, selling pieces for 10 million, that's when they want to know about it. That's when Sotheby's wants to know about street art. That's when Sotheby's wants to know about NFTs. When it reaches that point, then it can make money out of it.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, small steps at a time. Right now, there are museums about it.
Yeah, for sure.
One here in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But again, we're just talking about you, or we should talk about you.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I hate
because,
talking
like, yeah, no, that's why I'm talking about you.
joking.
Yes, you are. This guy in the comments. But what about the tears? Because there is a story behind the tears as well, right?
Yeah, there was image that I found of somebody on MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Yeah,
And she'd
yeah,
gone to a Halloween party as like a Playboy bunny girl that had
okay,
been shot in the forehead, and the
yeah,
tear kind of come down, and it kind of came down in an interesting way. So I messaged her and asked her if I could do, you know, take that sort of image, and I kind of ran with it. You know, I did an image, I gave her a copy of it, and then it was time to do the Liz Taylor, and it was time to do the Jackie Kennedy, and it was time to do the Marilyn, and then it was like Audrey Hepburn time, Hedy Lamarr time. So
Mm-hmm.
someone kind of suggested that it's showing that in our lives we have a sadness that we don't really show. So it's kind of a signifier for that, I guess. In
Yeah.
a way, it's just something that looks bloody cool. You know, someone said it looks a little bit like a banjo or a guitar. I think Keris Matthews, I did one of her.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Um, but it's a way of kind of channeling that sadness that we all have in our lives. You know,
Yeah.
on social media, our lives are all ha ha he he. You know, they're all like loads of fun, but we don't kind of go, oh, you know, yesterday my girlfriend had a miscarriage. You know, we don't really kind of highlight the awful stuff that happens to us that much. And
No,
so,
we don't.
way to say that if you scratch the surface in people's lives, there is a
Mm-hmm.
darkness. And also, if you, you know, I guess if you look at some of the artwork, the people's stories behind, say, Audrey Hepburn or behind Hedy Lamarr or Marilyn, they have a sadness in their lives. You
Yeah.
know, we all have that. We all have like heartbreak. We all lose
Yeah,
people.
or as you describe on your website, it's ills of celebrity culture.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How we're supposed to be so obsessed with celebrities and how, you know, their lives are so much more fantastic than ours. And don't we all wish that we could be, you know, sort of famous, you know, the whole Warhol thing of, you know, we all want to be famous for, you know, in the future, everyone's going to be famous for 15 minutes, you know, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a funny one with social media now because, you know, you have like conversations with, you know, celebrities, you know, you have comments and stuff like that, and you can kind of talk to them. So I think that's kind of changed the way that we see them a little bit, you
Right.
know. Also,
Yeah.
if people are having like a really hard breakup, we kind of, there's a certain amount of schadenfreude. You know, we like to see that they're having these sort of terrible breakups. We like to hear the sort of, you know, the sort of the negative things about their lives when we have a family
Mm-hmm.
that. And obviously, going back to Warhol, he was fascinated by the lives of celebrities. He wanted to become a celebrity. He courted them. He wanted to do portraits of them, you know,
Right.
and be their friends, I guess.
That was the same for you?
Um, no, not so much. I mean, I know a few like sort of semi-famous people, but I've never really kind of, you know, really cared that much about it. But I do enjoy, you know, doing the portraits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing I read on your website was no curators allowed in the building. They will be shot on site.
Yeah, I
Should
didn't.
I be worried?
I haven't. I sort of. I don't really see the point of curators. You know, I think if you got an exhibition, you can talk to the people doing the exhibition and say, yeah, let's do it like this. But then obviously I just worked with a curator to do the show in Amsterdam, and you know, Highland's pretty damn excellent guy. So, you know, he's a really good friend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite tongue in cheek. But I think the whole kind of, let's face it, in the last 10 years, people have been curating sandwiches. They've been curating mixtapes. They've been curating, you know, sort of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bit of a joke that, you know, curators are sort of here to organize us and to run our lives and to, you know, make us a perfect sandwich. So,
Right.
yeah,
Was this also the reason for you to start your own gallery?
yeah,
Like that? Right.
absolutely. I, I remember trying to sell my father's paintings and go
Mm-hmm.
around to a few galleries, and you know, most of the time they wouldn't even let me in. One time they actually said, well, come back to us when he's dead because he may be like, you know, more popular. You know,
Wow.
artists are always a little bit more popular, aren't they? So I,
Yeah.
at that point, I just thought, you know what, you have just got to do it yourself. You can't go knocking on the doors of the art world and expect them to let you in. You got to
Yeah.
create your own thing. It's like, you know, DIY music, you know, DIY sound systems, doing parties in San Francisco. You got to
Mm-hmm.
do it yourself rather than, you know, go cap in hand. And it seems to be the best way for me because I'm don't really like to be told what to do very much. I just do it my own way. But it was
Yeah.
also inspired by Aaron Rose's gallery in New York, the Alleged Gallery, where he was showing
Okay.
like Mark Gonzalez. I think Shepard was showing there as well. You know, so he basically had a plan. He was just paint the walls white, pay pay the electricity bill, and you've got a gallery. And then you can just get your friends and show
Right.
them, just build a movement from that. And
Mm-hmm.
so whole sort of mission school artists of San Francisco, and various other skateboard inspired, or skateboard involved artists were, showing at the Alleged Gallery in New York, in New York, which was originally like a bodega that he just turned into a gallery. And so, Barry McGee, Margaret Kilgallen, all the Beautiful Losers crew basically was showing at the Alleged Gallery. So,
Right.
book about the Alleged Gallery that became my Bible, and I just followed that whole thing. And so over the last, sort of 15 years, I've done, a whole bunch of exhibitions with different artists, that I like the work on a really informal level. We just say, look, we'll just kind of get the work up there.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times I've used a special technique, which is when we have all of the artwork in the gallery and say the artist is there and, maybe they're, someone they're working with and maybe, whoever else, when they go out to lunch, I'll hang the show. And then when they get back, usually they'll go, oh, it looks really cool. So I haven't got to spend the next 3 days with 5 of us all scratching our chins, working out whether to put that picture up or down, an inch or so. I just back out and, save a lot of time. So it's very DIY and it's very, sort of quite punk, in terms of getting the work up and just getting the work so people can come and see it.
And you're based in Shoreditch, right?
Yeah, exactly. But recently, I think even before lockdown, I kind of reached a point where I was kind of fed up with just doing openings where I was giving out free alcohol to people. It got really boring. By about 7 o'clock in the evening, I was ready to go home. So I've spent more time working on my own artwork, and I'll do sort of micro shows, and even, I'll have like an artist that I like the work of and just get 4 or 5 pieces in the gallery, work on it, website, and with social media. And there's a way of just having an entire show. You don't have to plan for 2024. You can just plan a month and just go, okay, cool, let's get 5 pieces from that wicked guy that we just found out about, and put it online, get it up in the gallery, and people can come and see it.
Okay, yeah, cool. So, and looking at your own process, I saw bits, of course, already when I met you in Miami. And also here with the metaverse, or what is it?
Yeah.
You're trying to, or you are looking for new developments in your art and evolving with your art at the moment and lately. Where is that going? Because I'm not sure if the guy is still there, but he was asking about the NFTs before.
Yeah, it's
How's
interesting.
that going?
A lot of us have been stuck at home, so we've had a lot of time to sort of work out, what this NFT thing is all about, and work out, like while I was at STRAAT, I was trying to work out being able to create a sort of augmented reality thing inside the space. And it's a bit like when you first heard about Photoshop and someone was explaining to you how layers work in Photoshop. It just went completely over your head. Now with NFTs, I had a friend of mine, GT, in Australia, who tried to kind of explain to me about crypto and NFTs and all that, and it went completely over. But then I think around in March was when things were getting really interesting. And so I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to do this with anyone. I'm going to work out how to do it myself. And I did. It took me about a week and some serious head scratching. And then with the augmented reality thing, it took me about 3 days, 4 days to work it out. And now it's like, oh, you basically create the space, you create the 3D stuff, you drop it in, bish, bash, bosh, it's done. Super easy. So I can now, if I want to, I can buy a little sort of, it's like a OVR land, a little kind of hexagon of space, say, for example, next to the pyramids, drop it in there. Someone's got the app. They can just, walk up to it, hold your phone up and just check out what's going on. So it's a lot of fun. And I think if you are, looking at the history of screen printing hasn't been around for that long. There's always been new technologies in the art world, you know, whether it's, oh, I've worked out how to do a fresco using egg tempera, or I've worked out how to, you know, use synthetic polymer paint, aka acrylics, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or I've worked out how to do a screen print, or I've worked
Yeah.
out NFT, or I've worked out augmented reality. And of course, there's resistance to that. You've got Brian Eno, who's just like written a piece slagging off NFTs, and
Mm-hmm.
sort of people who, you know, because Mark Zuckerberg has mentioned, you know, metaverse once, everyone thinks it's the most evil thing in the world, and we're all gonna, you know, it's going to be like the end game in Terminator because of that. But I think you've got to use the new technologies and create stuff. I don't
Yeah.
need to make huge, massive sculptures around the city of London. I can just drop them in as augmented reality. I don't have to
Right.
ask permission of anyone and spend, you know, 5 years, you know, working out the logistics of planning it. I can just do it overnight, drop it in there, and have an augmented reality piece on a bridge in London, and you know, it's all good fun.
Yeah, but the thing with NFTs is it's still very vague for a lot of people. Even a lot of artists are still very cautious about it.
Yeah,
Um, and you do understand this, or
yeah,
what
I
would
get
be
that
your
totally.
advice for them?
Yeah, I think it's totally cool. I mean, it's a choice that people can make if they want to play around with it. I think some
Yeah.
people have been quite negative because they've heard about the environmental aspects of it, but the environmental aspects of, you know, regular banks is pretty awful. You know, you look at
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, the environmental aspects of that are horrendous. You know, the sort of just, you know, eating cows and animals, that's like environmentally massively damaging, way more than like, you know, mining Ethereum or whatever.
Right.
Um, but I think also I had a few people I've talked to about it and kind of advised about it. You don't have to sort of reinvent what you're doing and make it look like you think NFTs should look. You can
Mm-hmm.
make your own stuff, you know, and
Yeah.
they can be funny and they can be shonky and they can be DIY, and you can
Yeah.
still have fun with it. And, you know, don't listen to people who are saying, oh, do it because you're going to become a millionaire. Do it because you want to get some nice images out there, or do it
Yeah.
because you communicate or have a community of artists. And I think it's come around, like street art came around at a perfect storm moment because it came around at the birth of the internet and social media. So if
Yeah.
Roa was doing a
Totally.
piece in Panama, we'd know about it on the same day because of social media. So, you know, because we were all locked down, we had more time to sort of get to grips with crypto and get to grips with, you know, creating a wallet and, you know, doing all this stuff. It's quite funny to see Highland, you know, in Amsterdam, and like I'm trying to sort of advise him and give him a little bit of information about, you know, how it all works and the augmented reality. I think he's
Yeah.
got like a hexagon in the STRAAT museum as well. He's going to be dropping something there pretty soon.
Yeah, I know he has because we were making that together when we were walking through the museum
Yeah,
last week, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting to talk about it, and especially when we were walking in Miami at Art Basel and Scope. There are a lot of NFT galleries already, and you
Yeah.
can go to concerts by buy an NFT. And yeah, who will have the first commercial street art about NFTs? Comical street art about NFTs.
Yeah, everyone's got a new platform. You know, everyone's got like the new thing. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of artists are already doing NFTs. You're quite good at it. If I look from a distance, hi Remy. You just make them on the spot while you're in
Yeah,
the
I
scope
make
booth.
like on a really basic little setup I have. I don't do them in 3D design. I just make them, you know, little sculptures and stuff like that. Or I'll just
Hmm.
be hand finishing a print, make a video of that, and that will become the NFT that goes with the print. Because I think some people who are on the sort of the fence about it, they won't know why you would spend, you know, $4,000 on a JPEG, you know,
Right.
would spend, you know, $1,000 on an NFT that has also screen print with it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right. Well, going back to the show, because right now we're closed. Normally we would have been open for the public. Uh, are you still there? Oh yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, I said like let's go back to the show because normally the museum would have been open, and people would have been able to check it in person. Right now they're not. You can check all the works that you've made that are for sale on our website. We'll be promoting them over the next couple of weeks and months. But maybe we can just do a round, and you can tell us a little bit more about the pieces that we see,
Yeah, absolutely.
because like a quick, just it's we're all by ourselves, so we have
So we're looking at some of the canvases, the Nightmare series. So the Nightmare series is all of these ones.
yeah,
So you've got like a Hedy Lamarr, Liz Taylor. There's the chick from Twin Peaks. So these are sort of your basic stencil canvases. So that's a
yeah,
two-color, and then it's hand finished. That's a three-color stencil. And then the whole tears thing is, I think that if you had to explain to an alien what a canvas was, it would be like, well, this is kind of like a square of fabric that we put images onto, and they
yeah,
represent something. So I like to break out of a canvas by using the tears. And then you've
yeah,
got Donna, you've got Marilyn, you've got Grace, you've got Audrey, you've got a very strange Obama. And then,
yeah. That's a very strange one.
yeah, he's very strange. I was a bit drunk when I did that one, but I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, right.
And then obviously you
Strange.
got the Beatles. They were like vampires, but then I kind of took their teeth out of them.
Ah,
But we've all been watching the new documentary and enjoying that quite a bit. And that was what I kind of resisted doing the Beatles for a while, but then I was like, okay, I give up. All right, I'll
yeah.
do one. So
It's
yeah,
part
and
of British
it's
culture anyway.
kind of like a Brexit meets the Queen, because obviously we hate Brexit and
Yeah.
think it's a completely stupid idea. And then we got like a bit of Natalie Wood and a bit of Jane Fonda. I think Jane Fonda's still alive, which is not normal because most of these people are all dead. Yeah, Natalie Wood. Oh, Sophia Loren's still alive and she's looking great at the moment. Hedy Lamarr. And then obviously on the right hand side, this one, the Audrey Mouse Club. If you buy this one, you actually get like a membership of the Audrey Mouse Club.
This
And
one is already sold.
we're building a sort of Audrey Mouse world at the moment, which is going to go up against Disneyland and what's the other one? Dollywood. So yeah,
Okay.
it'll be in construction soon. And then we've got a couple of other ones here. So
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to incorporate my whole kind of bunny tagging thing with
Mm-hmm.
the images. Sometimes they can be quite flat, so it's nice
Okay.
to sort of tag the hell out of them and then add phrases and do more stuff to that. And then Perspex piece, the first Liz, just before she passed away. It's quite funny because we're watching all this reversed, aren't we? That fragile, the lettering.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's true.
Yeah, and then we ran out of tape for the
Can
tears
I can I change? I
ribbon I
can't
had.
change it, I think.
And then I've been going and buying old road signs. So two
Yeah.
of the ones, those are old road signs that I find. So I kind of got
There
fascinated
you go.
by being able to use road signs as the background. Like that round one is just completely nuts. It's like a railway sign that's probably been sitting out too long on the side of a
Mm-hmm.
railway tracks. And obviously there's a track side. It's a nod to graffiti. And then, that's like a young Jackie. And then America's Nightmare.
Yeah. And then like to finish it up, we go into the museum.
Oh, yeah. Can
If
we have a look
you
at
if,
these? I mean, this museum is completely bananas. Look at the size of this, everyone. I absolutely just almost fell over on the first day I got here. I did a
so
bit of
because
streak as well. One of the nights when there was no one else in the whole building, I actually
yeah,
like streaked through it. So that was kind of fun. I don't know why I got the urge to do that, but it's such an impressive building to like celebrating it.
It's
But
amazing.
yeah, put my clothes off and just ran around naked.
You what?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, you do know we have cameras here,
No. I checked all the cameras the next day. I've erased everything. Don't worry.
huh? So this is your piece that you did for the
Yeah,
museum.
I'm pretty happy with it. I think
I
it
will
looks
do it.
pretty decent, you know.
There
There
we
we go.
go.
Yeah, she's a real cutie. I like the
Yeah,
use like the blue background, but then the blue on the face and the nose under the lips. It doesn't really make sense, but it does make sense in a way. But yeah, and then if you go right into the eyes are just really softly sprayed. But yeah, it
hmm
does. There's something going on there which I really like, you know.
yeah,
And I don't want it to be like a graphic design project. I want it to be a painting. I want it to be
yeah,
sprayed. So yeah, I think it's good.
yeah. We're very happy with it. It's for everyone at home. It's 2.5 by 3 meters.
Yeah. What's the
Uh,
actual canvas itself? Because it's like a is it a polyester canvas?
it's called Bisonil. It's plastic,
I
sort
want to
of.
use more than
Yeah,
surface to paint on.
yeah, yeah. It feels good, right, to paint on.
Yeah, it's really nice. I guess you guys have done research. So are the
We did.
big ones, are they all done on the same material?
Same material. All the There are a couple of plywood
Yeah.
and wood, but most of them are painted on the same material.
Yeah. I guess it probably stretches and contracts like the paint would as well. So it'll probably mean that it'll last a nice long time.
It does because it can get very cold as of right now.
Yeah.
It's freezing here. You were lucky because a couple of days ago it was definitely a bit warmer here than right now.
Oh wow.
Um, and it can get very warm in summer due to all
Yeah.
the windows that we have. A lot of sunlight gets in. And yeah, it works perfect with both of them. You
Yeah.
know, the canvas, the material. So yeah, we did some research for that, and this works best.
Yeah.
But
It's a lovely
yeah,
surface to paint on as
Char-
well.
Charlie, before I thank you for this interview, I would like you to ask if you have any Netflix recommendations for our dear viewers that are watching right now or later.
Yeah. We both have a love of the series Gomorrah.
Right.
Um, I haven't had a chance to actually watch those first two series, the two
Still
episodes
not?
of the new show
Right.
yet. And
Yeah.
obviously, you know something that I don't know about what happens, and it's kind of
Yeah.
driving me nuts. But I don't want to get like any kind of spoiler situation. But what's nice is I feel connected to the show because I did like a piece of artwork that ended
Right.
up Jenny goes to London and gets completely ripped off, which is what normally happens to people when they come to London. And when he goes into the empty building, there's the canvas that says, "You can't buy happiness, steal it," which is a nice situationist kind of phrase from the 60s. And he kind of has that oh moment. And it's really nice to be part of that show. But yeah,
Right.
we'll say no more about the new series because I want to be able to sit down with a nice little, you know, shot of Venezuelan rum and enjoy that. And
Right.
then we will talk. And can I urge you to not view the security footage from the first night that I visited STRAAT?
Yeah. No. Okay. Right. I won't do that. No. I end this. Hola. I actually already binged the whole fifth series,
Wicked.
so I'm already finished with
Wow.
the
No, I bet
season.
you're bursting to talk about it, but I'll let you
I
know.
am. I
I
I hope you
actually
already
watched
watched
it.
it.
I'll give you a shout.
Yeah. As we already discussed yesterday, just watch the first two episodes so we can discuss it on here. But
Oh,
we can do that later. Charlie, thanks a lot for chatting with me.
anytime.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in or watching this later. Yeah, the show with Pure Evil, it's still on until, well, let's say February, March, at least. Right now we're in lockdown, so nobody can see it. You can see it on the website straatmuseum.com, and we'll be promoting it every other week. So go check it out. Go check out Charlie's work, Pure Evil. And if I don't see you before, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a very good 2022.
Merry Christmas,
Charlie,
thank you so much
well,
for being part of an amazing museum. I feel really privileged.
yeah, thank you
Respect.
so much. And yeah, we'll be in touch for sure regarding Gomorrah, and I'm very much looking forward to coming over to the UK for some good walks outside of London.
Definitely.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You
Thanks,
too.
everyone, and we see each other soon.
Cheers.
Bye bye.